Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the 1,775 poems of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition. We turned out a poem number 33, If Recollecting Were Forgetting. It's going to be a fun little poem. We're going to meet Emily's paradoxes again. She loves her paradoxes. She's so gifted with them, and we're going to talk a little bit, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of where I think maybe she got some of her appreciation for the paradox. I think it's Shakespeare, and I think I have an idea where it might have come from. Now, our assumptions that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you had some exposure to our introductory lecture, and we've already worked now with the previous 32 poems. We just finished with When Roses Cease to Bloom, Sir. Now, the background information here that you need to know is that this poem was sent with some flowers to Sam Boyles, the editor of the Springfield Republican. We've talked about it. Lots of folks make the argument that this is maybe the one that Emily loved the most of the men that she loved. Certainly, she respected him and she wanted his help regularly, no question about that. And this poem itself was published in 1896 with the title With Flowers, because it was sent with flowers. Now, 28 times, including this one to make it 28, in our collection, Emily will begin a set of lines with the word if. And she's going to be playing now with the if, then construction, right? So, and yet paradoxical. Let's enjoy the poem. If recollecting were forgetting, then I remember not. And if forgetting recollecting, how near I had forgot. And if to miss were merry, and to mourn were gay, how very blithe the fingers that gathered this today. Now, of course, the antecedent to the pronoun this is the flowers, and that was what was sent along with the letter. Now, what I find interesting about the way she plays with these paradoxes is that she begins with the kind of speculative construction. If remembering, recollecting, were forgetting, then I remember not. Now, this is that construction that says, well, it's the opposite. If hot were cold and cold were hot, then, right? In other words, it's the opposite of what she's saying. That's what I love about this. I think she learned some of this from her study of Shakespeare, especially, do you remember those opening lines of Macbeth? Fair is foul and foul is fair. Good is bad and bad is good. Those paradoxes. And then she repeats it. So she'll play the game one more time. If forgetting, recollecting, how near I had forgot. In other words, what is she saying? Well, to Sam, it's impossible for me to forget. I have to remember, and the proof is, of course, going to be not only in her flowers, but in this poem itself. And a third, notice she loves her trinities, if to miss were merry, literally now, fair is foul and foul is fair, and to mourn were gay, in other words, if emotions were the opposite of what they actually are, how, notice she doesn't use then, she just says how very blithe the fingers that gathered this today. By the way, the word blithe only gets used one time in all of her poems, and it's right here. This idea of the, casual, we might call it cheerful indifference. Blithe is without much thought. In other words, what is she saying? If you're not really able to understand, she's saying to Sam Boyles, if you're not really able to appreciate, then I'm going to play as if it's not that big of a deal. But clearly, everything she's saying is actually the opposite. In other words, I chose these flowers not with blithe fingers, but rather with intentional fingers, intentionality. And therefore, the poem itself comes across as, I'm very serious in my feelings towards you. Just kidding, just kidding. It's brilliant. It's brilliant the way she can, the tone of a poem like this. She's able to back away if, for example, somebody pushes her too much on, hey, are you really saying what I think you're saying? What are you talking about? I'm just messing around, just playing, just playing. Of course, at 2A, I think the primary message here is that when you're apart from someone you care about, that's difficult. and you want to let them know that, but to do it, of course, at 2B with a certain amount of tongue-in-cheek is brilliant. I love the paradox. I love that Blythe only gets used one and only one time, and it's here. At 3A, well, I mentioned Macbeth 1:1, fair is foul and foul is fair, hover through the fog and filthy air. That idea that things are not what they appear to be, and I love how she's playing that game. She'll play, of course, this game in poem 21. We lose because we win. We've already talked about that one. And then we have a poem coming in poem 67. Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. She loves her paradoxes. These Emily paradoxes, I think, are just a hallmark of her genius. And it is true that sometimes I think she's been misread because it is clearly paradoxical, but not so clearly paradoxical, if you get my drift. At 3B, how are you going to own a poem like this? What was a time when you had to figure it out without the one that you cared most about? And what was a time when you had to express yourself, but you wanted to do it in such a way that you couldn't be pigeonholed into being totally serious? And yet, you were serious, but you didn't want it to appear serious. Can you remember a moment in your life when you had to play that game? And is it possible that you were able to do it as well linguistically as our genius Emily can do it? Thank you.